That's probably the same question as the reasons we started Urban Estes, because there was an absence, from my point of view, of a really strong women's voices in the built environment. There are some really incredible women working in this industry. We do have some fantastic leaders and role models, but there are loads more out there, and it was really puzzling me as to where they were and why we weren't seeing more of them. It also struck me that having set up a business myself and encountered so many incredible women in the industry who'd done the same, which showed a lot of courage and leadership on a kind of like personal level, that this wasn't kind of becoming clear in the wider industry, and that puzzled me as well. So I got them all together in a room one time, having met them all individually over a number of years, and what happened was just so incredible. We found a sense of real camaraderie and really inspired each other. And we sort of thought, well, what if we sort of did this on a more regular basis? And so Urban Estes was born really out of a real need to have a safe space for women to get together and be themselves, be professional, but also be personal, and blend those two sort of selves together, which is quite hard to do in the working life. And it's about offering an opportunity for women to start something of their own, again in this sort of safe environment of having a lot of like-minded women around you who are more than willing and actually very enthusiastic about helping you. So often I think we find ourselves in a position where we really love to do something, we'd really love to give something a try, but we feel like we have to have it so perfectly set out and planned to perfection before we ever do it. And actually, do you know what, sometimes it's about taking that first step. And what Urban Estes does is give you that confidence. It also gives you a huge network of contacts and support and experience behind you to go and do that. So the objectives, I would say in a nutshell, it's about helping women grow their leadership skills. It's about providing a platform for them to network. And it's about providing an opportunity for them to start something of their own.
Why do you feel networks are so important?
I feel they're more than important. I think they're fundamental. I think all of us are operating in some network or other, whether it's our family, or it's our business, or it's our neighbourhood, or it's a city itself. All of these are actually networks. We just call them something different. So without networks, we can't really actually do anything. But networks provide the routes and pathways to getting things done. And I think the richer the network, the more diverse the network, the better the results we can get and the better solutions we can create. Because I can try and do something on my own, but I know I'll get there a million times faster if I'm working with other people. So from my point of view, I think networks are actually the most important and fundamental basis of working in everyday life.
Is collaboration different to simply networking?
I think it is, and the difference being that collaboration is about action. Networks, I think, are about making the connections and building the links and actually putting you together with things or people or ideas that you might not really have ever encountered. Collaboration takes it a step further, because it's one thing to say you've met somebody or you know somebody or you're aware of something. It's an entirely different thing to do something with those connections and do something with those different things. So for me, collaboration is the key to things like creativity, problem solving, and it also makes life a bit more interesting, because I think as professionals it's very easy for us to get stuck in a silo, stuck in a rut, and doing the same old, whereas when you build more collaborative platforms and collaborative relationships with people immediately outside your field, it's amazing the influence it can have on your way of thinking, and that's often a positive influence. Yeah, I think a lot of the Urban Estes activities that are coming forward are pure networking collaboration, and for us it's making the intangible tangible, if you like. So it's really putting its money where its mouth is. We wanted Urban Estes to be this opportunity to grow things almost out of thin air, purely by being able to build on the collaborations that you can develop out of just networking. So we have quite a few projects that have been started as a result of that. One of which is our taxi driver project, which is an idea that we had around using taxi drivers as a source of local history. And what we wanted to do was almost download their brain, because as taxi drivers they have a phenomenal knowledge of cities and the way urban spaces work, possibly a better understanding than anybody really. But in driving around and meeting all the people they meet on a day-to-day basis, they've absorbed this amazing cultural and folk history of our places. And once they stop taxi driving, that's it, it's gone. So what we wanted to do was create a way of capturing and downloading all of that amazing history and knowledge and narrative of how our cities work on an everyday level, and see it as almost like a sort of alternative guidebook. So when you get a guidebook for a city, whether it's London or anywhere else, you open it up and I can tell you now exactly what will be in there. And actually there's a whole other dimension of our cities that goes sort of undocumented, is equally as interesting. So we wanted to bring together taxi drivers with filmmakers, with architects and planners, and create a new way of describing and talking about our cities and how they've developed over time. So that's one example of some quite wacky collaborations we've had recently. I think probably from quite a few angles. I mean, the beauty of Urban Estes is it's a very diverse and eclectic mix of women. And so we've got everything from artists to councillors to politicians, architects, designers, policymakers. So, you know, not the full, but a close to full spectrum of interest in the built environment. And so I can pretty much say that probably from a kind of property management point of view, I'd imagine that water is absolutely integral to creating valuable, attractive real estate that starts to build a kind of portfolio of value for people who are looking to sort of invest or trade in property. So we love water features as humans, and so often the most expensive property is near a river or a lake. So water plays a massive part in generating value in the built environment. But from a kind of like landscape architecture and I suppose urban design point of view, it's not just about creating value or function, it's about the whole experience and ambience of a place as well. And water has a notorious calming effect on us. And so I think water is used very cleverly a lot of the time in humanising spaces, because let's face it, a lot of modern development is quite stark, it's quite functional, it can be often quite brutal, and it can be dominated by hard surfaces, and I think water is absolutely vital in trying to soften that and bring a sense of play, but also a sense of calm and emotion into what would otherwise be probably quite a bland and soulless place. So yeah, I think water is incredibly important.